Hey, Marty, I'll be right back. I'm cooking, so I'm listening, but I'll be here.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Obvio Q&A. Wow, not many people today. It's the faithful are here, it seems. I'm sure more are coming in. And Fade Grant.
Yeah, I just have a
Eh,
quick question,
yeah, go
if I,
ahead.
and then I do have to drop off. Is there
Totally
an
fine.
easy way to search for quick answers in our knowledge database? Because I
Mm,
see all the recordings, but
yeah. No, there's not at the moment, and we're really trying to do a better job of making support sort of help when you need it. One of the things that is very, very close is a thing we're calling tooltips, which is just like little buttons everywhere that are just like little help buttons.
mm,
Um, and then they'll point to some notes, but also like a video that will just explain that particular section or that function.
okay.
Um, and so I've seen a version on our testing environment which is working. So that's super close. So yeah, we totally acknowledge that our kind of anything written knowledge base, all of that stuff is not up to par, and we want to get that better, which is part of the reason why we continue to do these calls. Although I don't think we would stop doing these. But yeah, that's part of it. So, is there something in particular, or is it just the frustration of at the moment that you need that information, you can't find it?
Yeah, I was able to get it answered in the Facebook group, so that's good. That's still pretty quick. It's usually within 24 hours, so that answered my question there.
Yeah,
And then I had a second question because I was just
sure.
curious. Did you
Yeah,
did you get it done after our mastery day yesterday?
yeah, yeah.
Because I did step away, so I don't know if you got what you needed.
Yes, I did, and it'll be, I'll probably at the end of this call, I'll do another test. Um, but yeah, so it seems to be working, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, we're able to just kind of move a bunch of people based on certain criteria, which is yeah, it's really cool. So
That's cool. Well,
yeah,
I look forward to seeing it in action tomorrow because I will be
yeah.
part of that event on the support side.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, great.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
thank you. I'll see you next
yeah.
time.
Thanks, Mary. Okay,
All right,
bye.
bye-bye.
Okay. Hey, Cindy. Um, so let me just see. It looks like we're just having a bit of a slow afternoon, it seems, with people coming in, which is totally fine. Um,
There's no email inviting people to Avio come join us.
okay, that'll do it.
So, yeah.
We came
That'll
to make sure you weren't sitting here alone, Graham.
What
No,
time is it there?
where is everyone?
Might want to
Um,
throw a
What time is it where
notification
you
on
are?
Facebook.
there's a there's a there's a bunch of things that are going on right now, which is probably the reason that the email wasn't scheduled.
Yeah.
Um, time is okay. It's 7:30 a.m. for me, so that's all right.
Gosh.
That's okay.
You work long hours, I bet.
I work some funny hours. Yeah, trying to get some good uh, habits in place, but it is a little bit difficult. So, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting, really. The things that we're able to do, and particularly me, sitting in a little outskirts of a small town, or not small town, but a town in Australia, to be able to be involved in all this sort of stuff, it's pretty amazing. Um, so I take the good with the bad. I mean, it's like I'm not flying around everywhere, which I did a lot of, and so it's so much nicer than that. So there's a couple of there's events we're doing now that are overnight for me all the time. So it's like working a night shift, and I still think, I mean, sometimes it's a bit rough, but I still think that's better than you know getting up early and going to a busy airport and doing all of that, and then sitting in the lounge for while it gets delayed or cancelled, or and
Right.
then like catching Ubers, and like
Mhm.
anyway, some doing that sometimes actually is nice, um but
So much wasted time.
yeah, yeah,
Just a
incredible.
day. It's like a day everywhere you're going. It's a day there. It's a day back.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It is like that.
I can't wait to hear what Jeff's daughters are up to. That's really why I'm here.
That's right. Yeah. They're millionaires from last
Right.
week.
Be careful, they're going to take your job, Grant.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. I was looking forward to seeing what they're going to teach us today. Hey.
Hey, there
Nice. There we are.
Like,
That's awesome. Nice to remind us of your name again. Oh, sound's not working.
Jeff's daughter.
Yeah.
We can't hear
Uh-oh.
you.
This is your first test. It's like the way, what has
You're
Dad done?
unmuted.
Mute on the bottom.
Yeah,
Bottom
you're
left
No,
corner.
unmuted.
you're unmuted in Zoom. It's the mic on your end.
Yeah, there's something about the
Ah.
mic. Here he comes. Look at
Zoom's
him.
been switching mics on my computer, like just randomly during a call lately. So
And video.
Oh,
Now we can hear you.
you have to turn it off.
Is that working now?
Come on,
We can hear you now.
Jeff. If you want to retire, you're gonna have to set up all the stuff so that you can just walk away and leave it to the kids to do it all.
We're working on it.
So sorry, remind me of your name again.
Sarah.
Sarah.
You have to speak up.
Nice. I gotcha. All right. Well, we're looking forward to learning from you today, Sarah. That's all very
you.
exciting. All right. So a few more people are coming in. What we could do. So nobody got an email, right? I'm just double checking that was no emails.
No emails.
Well, let's send out a broadcast together. Wouldn't that be
There you go.
exciting?
You fill up the room.
That's all right. Here we go. All right. So I think we have an old one. Let's see. So this is just, I've just gone into broadcast, and this is the event that we're on. Let me have a look at. I remember asking for the year to be added in here, because if you have these really long events, it could be over a couple of years. That looks pretty good. Was that one? I think it was that one. Yeah. So we can duplicate that one. Okay. All right. This is a big thing here, is always to make sure that you've got it published, you're set to publish. That can catch you out. But we've done it on purpose so that it sort of defaults to not sending out. The time that it sends, already 19, that's already set. Can possibly save. Let's see. Has to be 5 minutes into the future. Depends how quickly
Why? Oh, so that it has time to do it.
Yeah. So it has time to sort of schedule it. Come join us today. Come join us on today's Q&A call. Live now. Yes. So first name is like a little merge field that you can use from here. See these? So hi, first name. We've just got started. And then there's the link, which is the login URL. See you soon. I'm going to take Blue's name off just in case. Because he's not here to stop me. 1,300 people. So let's just see. All right. I wasn't quick enough. Let's see there. It's the only thing it needed. What time is it? Oh, yeah. I missed it again.
Missed it again.
Yeah, I actually want I do just want a button that says just do this from 5 minutes from now. Save it and go, you know. All right, so it's set to publish and it hasn't sent yet, obviously, because it's 5 minutes away. So let's see what happens. We'll see that we'll hear a few dings as people get that. I'll double check if we've got any questions that have come through.
I've got one question in the queue.
Yep.
It has to do with attendee labels. So in an enrollment event, when someone purchases the program and we add the label or we add the tag to their name, we want the label, to show up in Obvio. And I know it doesn't happen when they're live in Obvio. They need to or live in Zoom. They need to leave and come back. And if they join a new area like the celebration lunch, the label shows up, tag applies, label shows up. But then when they come back to the main stage, some of them didn't have, like, let's say they were VIP and then they upgraded to, Rockstar.
Okay.
Went into celebration lunch, Rockstar shows up, come back to the main stage after the celebration lunch. Half of them reverted back to VIP. Half of them showed Rockstar. So I'm not sure when the label applies and or how to force the issue to make the label apply. And on a small event, I mean, we can go in and rename them manually, not a big deal. But I want to learn what works big.
Yeah. So it's possible. So in theory, what should happen, and let me explain how the system works, and that is that it's using a Zoom registration link, right? So when someone clicks on a button on the dashboard, it goes and checks whether we have stored a registration link for them before for that specific meeting, for that Zoom meeting. And if we haven't, then it goes and registers, and then it stores that link, and away it goes. And in order to, what is encapsulated in that registration is the name. So whatever we put as the name at that point is how they will appear in Zoom. So that's what's technically going on in the background. So if they've had a registration link before, then that's what they're going to get again, and it's going to have the same old name. Now, what the control that we have in place should be that when you change labels, if you change labels, then it will update. But it won't it won't know that the criteria has changed for a particular person. So that's where it becomes a little tricky. So you're talking about what works big. We can't have it check every time someone joins to see if something has changed. And so ideally, so what does happen though is that if you make any changes, any updates to the labels, it'll refresh. It kind of deletes everyone's registrations and it goes again, or it updates them. Technically it updates it, so it still keeps the registration, but it updates it with a new name. And so I actually did that for this one this morning because I added an extra room to this area because I wanted everyone to have numbers in it for the testing later. I wanted it to have numbers. And then I also wanted, just for fun, I wanted to have a label. And so everyone's a star. And so I added a star at the end of everyone's name, right? So once I did that, once I added the star to the label, it meant that everyone coming in to this meeting had their name updated, because you would remember that in previous meetings it's just been your name and no room number, and the room number only happens if there's multiple rooms in an area. This is how that's why we have ones on everyone's name, because we could have multiple rooms, and I have a second room that's not open in this area, so that when I do a little breakout room test later, it knows that you're an attendee. So does that answer that, Muddy?
Yeah. So if I just go into the labels in the back end, add a new label as the lowest, drag it down, make it the lowest priority, so it really doesn't apply to anyone, or just applies to whoever doesn't meet the upper criteria, and hit save, that essentially refreshes the label system. And so the Obvio will then push through and update everybody's labels, or at least check and see if a new tag applies, if it needs to update an individual person. So I don't need to do anything with an individual person. I can just tickle the label system as a whole, and it'll go through and kind of refresh and update.
Correct. And there is another one, and I can't quite remember the change, but I believe if you make a change to an attendee as well, like you're saving an attendee again, it also refreshes the label. So that's particularly handy because if you make a name change, like there was incorrect spelling or something, then you want that to push through the next time that they join Zoom. So
yeah, and we were using an integration with the CRM system, so it was applying the tag automatically to the person when they registered. But I didn't think to kind of open their registration record in Obvio, make a little tweak and save it. So
yeah,
cool. All right,
yeah.
I've got to run now. I'll catch the rest of the show on replay. Good to see everyone.
No worries. Awesome. Look at that. So you'll see that the email came through. So for people that are just joining, we realize that the scheduled email didn't go out. Actually, well, there was no scheduled email, so to be more accurate. But so we sent another one, and so that's what you can see there. And if we went back here, I'll just refresh this page as if I'd come back to it. We will see the send status is that it has sent, and so this was the email, and it went to 1,300 or so people. It went and annoyed 1,300 people. So I'm sure we'll get a few more people coming through now once they've seen that email. And it'll be interesting too to see that we send the normal emails get sent out of Keep because of how we handle all of the registrations process and things for the different groups of people that have access to this call. But sending it directly from Obvio might see some different people would see their different sort of email this time. So we might have all sorts of different people that come through once they see that email. So that's cool. So as just a reminder, you can post questions through the dashboard there that you came through. It will say ask a question. So you can type in some questions there, and we've had a few people do that. And then we can also take some questions, people that want to chat through some particular things. But we like to get through as many of the text questions as we can to honor everyone's time as well and try to keep through lots of different topics. We generally talk about Obvio specific things. How do you do this in Obvio? You know, can you show me how to do this? Whatever it is. And then sometimes those topics moves into more general sort of event, you know, online events and how you're running it and things like that, or how to, you know, use Zoom in a particular way. And inevitably there's a production question that a production question or two of which microphone to use or what camera to use or whatever it is. So that's generally the flow of it. So I think we just handled Muddy's question. Let's have a look here. Christy says, when I record an Obvio session, where do the recordings go? That's a good question, Christy. I'll show you. We need to work on this because it's a little bit hidden. It's not an obvious place. And so I'll show you. So when you're in your Zoom areas, you go to the area that you had your event in. And each area has a room within it. And a room is actually a Zoom meeting. And if you click on the one, you now get into the room information, and right here is recordings. Now, most people are using just one room in an area, which is why I'm advocating that we that we have that record link somewhere a bit more obvious. But this is the recordings, and so then you have the option there. You'll see you can download all these different options that are recorded. So screen share with the speaker view. So that's just a full screen active speaker, and then the screen share. Active speaker is active speaker without any screen share happening. I mean, this is probably self-explanatory, but I'll go through it anyway. Screen share with gallery view, being able to see a bunch of faces, I think up to about 25 is what you would see in the recording. Screen share by itself, gallery view by itself, audio only, the audio transcript of the whole thing, and then the chat file of all the chats that were written during the event.
Wow. I had no idea it did all that. Seriously,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So it is particularly
Never guessed
handy.
by what it was called.
You wouldn't have guessed by recordings.
So
So-
it
Yes.
records the active speaker, like it records each of those individually. So
does.
it takes all of those videos at the same time, so you can edit them all in together.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I have often done little events where I'll download the screen share full screen. I'll get the active speaker full screen, and then I'll get the gallery view, and then I can edit together, you know, like a either highlights or also just the recording and sort of mix that in, and I can, you can kind of edit things out, really easily because you've got those different views that you can cut to.
Yeah, like if somebody falls asleep, you can cut them out.
That's right. Yeah, and you say something wrong or whatever, you can cover that with a slide that you had up at the time. You don't have to go and get
Right.
the slides and things, it's all there. So yeah.
What software do you like to use to edit?
So I'm a Mac user, so I use Final Cut, Final Cut Pro. But I tell you, DaVinci Resolve is some software that's on Mac and PC, and I was going to say their basic version. I mean, their very, very solid, very powerful version is free. And then there's another version that you can get with more features and things like that as well. But yeah, but then there's other things like Clip on Windows. There's another one, a Microsoft one that's newer now. Clip something, which is pretty good. And then I think iMovie is another one on Mac as well. Clipchamp is one that's pretty good as well, just for dragging files in, doing a quick top and tail perhaps, or like you just need to tidy up a couple of parts, and then you can output it, and as we talked last week, host it on Vimeo or YouTube or something, and then make that available. You could put that back on the dashboard if you wanted to. So
How long are the videos available on Zoom for?
yeah, that's a good question. So they are available for up to 60 days. And so it really is, it's best practice for you that, a couple of days after your event, just go and download them all. And just have it there. And it's, like, I really like Dropbox. I use Dropbox for everything. And I love just being able to download something like this, put it on Dropbox, and then it's stored away, and I don't have to worry about it. I can come back to it at any time. But some of those cloud services can cost a bit. And when you're doing videos like these aren't huge, but it starts to add up in the size of those videos, and so you might need a good cloud service. I mean, I feel like not quite gone are the days, but I don't really use drives for storing things as backups and things. I use cloud services all the time now, and I'm very happy with that. Works great. So my point is, download them all, put them somewhere safe, back online somewhere, and then you've got them. It's great just for archive too, right? Like when someone says, "Oh, but you said this on this day," or did I really?
Let's go see.
Yeah, let's double check that. So that's where you find them. And yeah, some people didn't realize that you have the transcript and the chat log there as well, right? So that's handy to know, to go back to, and to refer to that. Cool. We've got a few more people, a few faces I haven't seen for a while. There's Tony. Hey, Tony, haven't seen you for a while. And we're getting a bunch of people. That's great. So, okay, get rid of that one. That's an old one. And then Jeff, if people buy the event pass at $97, then want the all access $197. If they buy the all access, will they have to pay an extra $97? How do they fix that? Yeah, so it depends how you're doing that, Sarah. How you're doing that through, what's the integration you're using? The other system?
Kajabi.
Kajabi. Yeah. So generally what would happen is that you would create sort of an upgrade product. I don't know the specific terminology for Kajabi, but just generally what we're talking about is that you might have a kind of like having 3 different products. One is the event pass, one's the all access pass, and one's the upgrade from event to to all access.
And then make it like $97 less.
That's right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep. And your upgrade might be a different price, right? Depending on what it is. And so it might not have to add up to 197. It could be that it's a little bit more because they took their time. It's like it's another $97 and that doesn't add, you know what I mean? That could be a little bit less, it could be a little bit more. And then when they buy that product, that tags them, updates the tags and tags them as all access. And then that kind of flows through everywhere and away it goes. So it's a really good tactic for everyone to think about is when you're able to do those sorts of things, people get to your event and then they realize, oh, hang on, I didn't realize that if I got all access, then I would get access to a Q&A at the end of the night that only all access people get or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, well, you can upgrade and give us your money and you'll get in. So that's the thinking on that. Nice. All right. That is all the questions that have been put through the dashboard button of Ask a Question. And I was just double checking in the chat that I hadn't missed too much. No. Okay. All right. Anyone else got any questions? Go ahead, Sean. Hey.
Thanks, Grant. Question is, I use it every day, multiple times a day, have 20, 30 rooms in the back, recording in each one, so the recordings are easier to find. Question is that I've got different levels of people who come to the dashboard, and I can show the buttons based upon the tags. The question is there any way to do the resources? I know there's rules for the resources, but is there any way to create a resource section that would be identified as somebody in the tags?
Yeah, it totally
Okay,
is.
cool.
Which template are you using? Do you know which
I
theme?
am using, I'm on the dashboard now. I think it's
actually, if you don't mind me showing your actual dashboard, I
Sure.
can bring that one up. What's it called? What's the event called?
Sean G. Murphy. Now let's see here. Events. It's the Daily Awake.
Daily Awakening Morning Call?
Yes. Yep.
Oh yeah. Nice. Cool. Just opening that now. Let's have a look here. Okay, so here we are. So if we look down here, just checking out those resources. So what you can do is under a resource section,
Right.
as you would probably already know, you can, and you've already done that, right? So you've added tags to a specific resource. But what you can also do is put rules on the whole resource section.
Okay, where did you click to do that? On the
Okay, so here and the resource, yeah, on the resource name, right? So where we've used this to great effect, and so for everyone playing along at home, Sean's done great with having multiple resource sections, and so you can add when you add when you add down the bottom, when you add an item, these are the different items that you can add as a sort of a section. And so you can add a resource section. So here's a whole new resource section. And how we've done this to great effect is for different languages, right? So
cool.
we've got specific resources for different languages. And so we're going and adding a whole bunch of resources and might have 10 different PDFs there or something. And they're all in French. And now instead of trying to handle that multiple languages all within one resource section, we can then go in here and make it that it's for the tag or the group that's just French.
Okay.
And then we can also call it the resources section. So the heading is here we go. It's just as an example, we can put that in French, which just looks like I've spelled it incorrectly, but that's the correct French. Right. And so now that this whole section is only going to be seen by our French speaking people. So yeah, it's just coming in there, same place, the same sort of rules set up, but that whole section will only be seen by whatever you set for your resources there.
And I haven't done a preview. Maybe I have. It's been a couple of weeks since I added all the resources. The question I have is can you show the title, right, to create a little FOMO that says elite mastermind content, or give it a name, and then all of the resources, because they're not tagged to it, wouldn't show up, but the title of the resource box would show up.
Oh, I see.
To go, oh, well, why can't I see? Because somebody will ask, why can't I get to the elite resource section? Well, you're not part of the elite group. Here's a link.
Yeah, you could totally do that. You could have, in order to do that, then you would do it based on each individual item. Yep. What I would do is put a kind of a bogus, just like a link. And I would do something like this. So, however you would say that nicely,
right?
You could create that. You could create that as a link. And what you can do is in the rules, when you go to the tags,
right,
does not include
anybody
elite,
who's in the elite. Got it.
Right. So now anyone who is an elite is not going to see that you are not an elite member. Right. And now only the people that are not an elite member are going to see that, and all of your actual resources will be hidden away because they will be set to elite.
Got it.
And so yeah, you could put that in a nice way, and you could also make that a link to become an elite member.
Right. Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
So that would be a thing to think about. Go ahead. Sorry, no, just one other thing that's kind of related to what you're talking about is these. I don't know if you've seen the ribbons. So we don't see them as often, but we used to use these all the time. These are kind of these special. See that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I like it.
And so you can create different ribbons, and they can sit at different spots. But it's designed for exactly what you're talking about, right? Like is being able to have this type of thing. And what we tend to have then is you wouldn't call it not elite.
Right.
Right. So and now you can sort of play around with these different sections.
That's cool.
and it's a big flag coming into the dashboard that you're like, oh yeah, I'm VIP or I'm elite, or
Right.
like you've
Yep.
got this extra ribbon that's tied to what you've got. So you can play around with those too. So they're built in, but you can also do custom ribbon
Right.
designs. And you can see they just kind of sit and hang over the side as well, which is cool. But
Very cool.
So yeah, we really like those. And then of course you do your rules, right? Based on whatever the criteria is for that, for those ribbons.
And if you click on Zoom areas in mine, there's no
Yep.
way to move those. Those are always based upon the last one in is always at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's some that I have for private sessions and private coaching, and when I'm getting ready to go to it, I have to go and go, where's that room at? Okay. Because I do a morning call every morning, so you'll see at the very bottom. So I was having them all in the main room, and then I went, you know how hard that is to find stuff. So I started making some March and then April, and so I'll have a room for every month. And
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
it's okay. It's just
yeah, it is. It's probably an edge case of handling lots of different Zoom areas.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, having it even just having it in alphanumeric order would probably make more sense than creation order,
Right.
So that would be something that I would think about.
Okay, cool. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So Blue is on. Hello, Blue. I just need a second. So Blue, if you can take another question.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Are we going to keep sharing screen, or who's sharing screen right now?
This is Elaine. I have a question that's in the chat. How is everyone doing?
Good. How are you, Elaine?
I'm doing good, doing good. Very simple question. I'm setting up a small meeting for a recurring group. Everybody is in Dallas, Texas, except me. I'll be setting it up. So my question is, do I set up the time for the meeting based on CT time or ET time?
It doesn't matter. So it really is up to you, Elaine, and your attendees won't see it. They will never see that time for the Zoom meeting inside of Obvio or on the dashboard, or when they click on a link. It really doesn't matter. The time zone selection inside of settings for each individual event is so that any of the time-based fields in the agenda system primarily, but also in time-based rules, work off of that specific time zone. So, as an example, let's just say you had 5 people editing a dashboard, and one was in let's just use 2. One person was in California and one person was in New York. And, obviously they're in different time zones. So if you're trying to do time-based rules, like make this button show up at this time, or, stuff like that, it's a lot easier if you're both working in the same time zone. So that's all it's for. It doesn't have any bearing on what attendees see anywhere.
Okay, so since it's going to be recurring, and they may change the time, but everybody's in Dallas. So this one is coming up. It's going to be 1 o'clock CT time. I'm the only one that's ET. So I should set it up as 1 o'clock.
I would set it up as a central time event. Tell me something. Okay. When you say that, are you talking about like on the event settings page, the start time? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Elaine, what I would recommend you do is make the start time earlier that day. Because there are some rules around, there's some limitations inside of Obvio around how you can open rooms.
Oh, okay.
Before your event starts. So if that event if your event is going to take place at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, make the start time for your event at, whatever, 6
Okay.
a.m. It doesn't really matter, but make it a good amount of time beforehand so that if you log in to make some changes or you log in to launch Obvio, you're not in a position where you can't launch Obvio because the event doesn't start until 1 o'clock. That's
Okay.
really what it boils down to.
Okay. All right, then very good. That solves the problem, and they will get an email confirming the time that they need to be on the call. So that solves it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Esther, do you want to go ahead and ask your question? You can just unmute yourself.
Yes, I wanted to find out what login information I can give to my VA who will help me navigate this
Yeah,
Obvio.
great question. So inside of Obvio, there is the ability to create team members who have specific roles. So let me show you an example of that. So if I go to the organization that we are working in right now, which is this guy right here, and as the event owner or as the organization owner, if you click on the event name right up or the organization name top right, you're going to see an option that's called team. And what you're going to want to do is first create a role. The system does not have any roles by default. So you have to create a role and define which things you want that person to do. So if you're talking about a VA, I would, create a role just called VA. And you're probably going to want them to be able to modify event settings, see statistics, modify the design, start rooms, start areas, view recordings, like basically do everything, maybe with the exception of update team or purchase add-ons or use these marketplace or broadcast features. And also create events. You usually, like when I'm working with somebody who's helping us out, I prefer to have me create the event and then they be able to make changes. But if you want your VA to create events, then you just check that as well. And now that you have this VA role, you go over to members and you select from the drop down the new VA role and you type in their email address, like VA's email at gmail.com, right? Or something along those lines. And then you click invite. Now, what'll happen is your team member will get an email from Obvio saying something along the lines of, congratulations, you've been invited to support this organization. Click here to create your Obvio account. They click that, they type in their first name, their last name, and their password, and now they have access to your organization and their own login. So if at some point in the future you don't want to work with that VA anymore, you can go back into the Teams area and remove that person who has access. You don't actually give them, generally speaking, you don't give them your login email address and password. That's why this system is there. Now, I know that some people just share their own login information. I don't think that's great practices.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are most welcome. Grant, I see you're back.
I am. I was just double checking. There's no other questions that are posted on the dashboard. Ask a question, but that you can still do that. So, are there any other questions that people have?
Christy, when you go into your organization, in the top right-hand corner, right next to your icon, your user icon, there's a drop-down menu for your organization, and there is a team menu option right there. So that's where you get to that particular area.
I don't seem to have that drop down. Is it something I said?
If you don't have that drop down, then you're in an organization that you're not the owner of.
Oh.
Which organization are you in? What's the name of the organization that you're in?
Right now I'm playing around in Media Squirrel, and when I click on it, oh, of course it's there now. Isn't that always the way?
Awesome.
Found it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's not always the way, but often, yes. It's possible that that drop down menu doesn't exist on the organization listing page. You actually have to go one step into the organization itself, because for team members, you don't give team members access to your full account. You give them access to specific organizations within your account. It's part of what allows you to, hypothetically speaking, let's say you're helping a friend out and you're using your Obvio account instead of somebody else's. You would create an organization for your friend, right? Like my friend's company name or something along those lines. And then you go into that organization and you invite your friend as a team member to that organization. So they now can work inside of your account, inside of your Obvio account, without having to get their own. But all they see is their event inside their organization. They don't see your other organizations with any of the other events. It's how we keep individual clients from seeing each other's stuff.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Eamon, is it? Eamon?
Iman.
Yeah, Iman. Hey.
Close. Question. So I had a summit several months ago, and I set up my portal in Obvio, and all it is a replay, recap and replay. Fast forward to today, but currently I have an upcoming summit, and the original summit was done live, and then and it was recorded, and like I said, uploaded it to Obvio. But for this summit, however, it won't be live. It will be pre-recorded. And I was wondering, for relatively speaking, a newbie, what would you recommend? Because I want to copy and paste my pre-record and really have the same structure or similar structure, but because I want to emulate a live feel, because it will be a pre-recorded summit instead of a live one, I'm sure I will have to adjust my original a little bit to match the event type.
Okay.
And I was wondering, can I show you or or can you have magic back there? You can see it.
What? Yeah, we can have a look. So but it's the recording, and you're wanting to work out how do you make it that you play it back into Zoom, as in because you want people to come.
No, so to be clear, so let's say my summit is the end of the month, March 31st. Day one. So I want on day one, someone to be able to click main stage and see the pre-recorded summit that will be loaded inside my dashboard, the user's dashboard.
At a specific time or on demand, like anytime?
Yes, day one, day two, and day three.
Okay.
At a specific time, yep.
And is it all day? Is it?
No, it's a 3 hours. So it's 11 to 2, day one, 11 to 2 on day 2, Eastern Standard.
Okay. And so they're coming at a particular time, and you want the video to play out automatically. And is there a reason why you don't want to do it live?
Yes. I don't want to do it live is because I want to set it up beforehand. I did it live. My first time it was live. It turned out pretty good, but it was really a challenge because I had trouble with speakers signing into the system. I had all kind of logistical problems. when it was all said and done, it was a lessons learned. And it ended up turn up pretty good. But for this summit, however, I said, let me do a pre-record instead of the live, so I won't run into those problems again. Because if I was a master at configuration and making sure everything was working fine in the background with the tech, if I had an audio and video person, it would be a lot easier. But I do it all myself, so I just want to pre-program it and let it rip on day 1, day 2, and day 3. And if I use my replay as a model, I want to copy and paste it, but just tweak it a little bit so it'll be more of a live feel.
Okay, I'm gonna keep to your question, and not and not keep challenging you on playing it out. Yeah, and I'll just say I wonder about the engagement level that you're going to have with just pre-recorded 3 hours for 3 days. But though there's a few different ways really that you're wanting to play video into Zoom. Really what we're talking about is using some sort of system like there's software solutions and there's hardware solutions. Software, have you got any hardware? Do you have any ATEM system or anything, or is it you're just using software?
Well, I coincided with Go High Level. I use Go High Level to run my CRM. And that was part of my question too. What do I have to think about as far as what type of integration is available?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So there's the Obvio side. There's the data side of getting people and the attendees in, tracking all of that. There's then the audio video production aspect of people coming into Zoom and then you playing out a video. So the playing out the video part, there's a few different ways. Probably the most straightforward is something like a system called OBS Studio, which is some free software. I'm just going to give you it's kind of the dot points of this is that you're using OBS Studio that does a virtual camera, and in Zoom you're then selecting that virtual camera. So now it's seeing OBS and you play the videos through OBS and it looks like it's a camera. It looks to Zoom like it's a camera, and to all the attendees it looks like it's a camera. So I'm doing I've got an ATEM Mini, which is a external hardware system. You can see I'm able to change to a slide in my camera input, right? So you're thinking about that you can have your camera input into Zoom and being able to play out whatever you want, whatever content you want. So you just need to make that work to where the video is playing out, and you've got to have audio working so that the audio plays through as well, so that when people come, they'll play the video. So there's no simple and certainly not cheap system for completely hands off. It just does its own thing. You still need someone to be monitoring and playing the videos out, and to make sure that that's all working. Like at this time, we're now going to start play this video. So so that would be my argument a little bit for you still doing all of your stuff live and then playing out videos of speakers. So I get the idea of not having, and the thing with that is that you don't have to try to pass that off as if it's live and that they're with you.
Oh no, I don't plan to.
Yeah. So you can totally just say, and now, I recorded this earlier with this special guest and here we go. But what it means is that the live parts that you do is where you're taking questions or comments from the chat, you're engaging with people, you're, like in that 3-hour window. It's much more engaging because you're actually with them live. And it also gives you an opportunity to get better and better at what you do. So that would be my suggestion, is that you take those
Great.
recordings of all the speakers, and now the way that you play those out, there's a few different ways. You could also do that in OBS, like I said, but you can just do it as a screen. There's a screen share function within Zoom where you can share a video, and that's super easy. Then you've got a little video of your speaker that goes for 20 minutes, whatever it is, and you can go screen share, advanced settings, and video, and it'll ask you for what is the video file. You click the video file, and it starts sharing into Zoom. It's as simple as that.
You went above and beyond with your response, and it really learned a whole lot. But from a standpoint of Obvio, from when I'm like, if my user clicks the button, okay, they get an email, sign into the main stage now on my Obvio platform. So once they click the button and hit that landing page on Obvio, it's going to be, okay, you're on the main stage. My question was mostly, how do I configure Obvio to be conducive to that live presentation? And I was wondering if you could look my original one as a kind of a template and
I'd totally have a look at that. Yep. What's the name of your event?
My company is Colby Coco, and I call the event Colby Coco, COLBYCO. And the event is Transform Your Rental Property. I think it's the replay I want you to look at. Transform Your Rental Property replay.
Oh yeah, they're both. There's two here with the same name.
Colby Coco, COLBYCO.
Yeah, I got that. Got that. I'll look at this. I'll look at this second one. We'll see. Okay.
And again, the recap and replay is completed. The actual summit is just very draft version of I started. But
all right, let's just see. I might just open this other one as well because I think they've both got the same name. So I'm just seeing which one's which. Oh yeah, webinar replay.
No, not the webinar replay.
Okay, hang on. Let's look at this one. Okay. All right, let me share this. Okay. This one?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So you've got a main stage button.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the part perhaps that we haven't done yet. Zoom areas. Have you been into here?
No.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So this is where we create our actual Zoom meetings. So if we think of Obvio as the main thing that Obvio is doing is handling the experience for the attendees. And the dashboard is really that home of the event for them. And then we also include Zoom licensing. And so then it's a matter of saying, okay, how many Zoom meetings do you need? And the way that we organize Zoom meetings is in what we call Zoom rooms. And then we think of Zoom areas. Zoom areas is a collection of Zoom rooms. And the reason that we do that is we think of it like a big stadium, for example. And so we've got a big stadium, 20,000 people, and we've got different sections. And each one of those sections can have 1,000 people in it. And that's how we think of our Zoom rooms, because we are limited, or Zoom meetings is limited to 1,000 people. And so it might seem like we've got, sort of this system that is, it's built to scale. So it's built to be able to scale. And so we have these terminologies to sort of help us in that thinking. So a Zoom area. So what we'll create is a Zoom area called main stage. Okay, main stage. And that will go ahead and create one Zoom meeting automatically. So that's already got a Zoom room here. So now what happens when we look at our dashboard is what we want to do is we're always sending people to a Zoom area when we're creating our links. So on the dashboard for this main stage button, we're going to now go to here and say join an area is what I want the action to do. And now main stage is there. So now that's now connected to main stage. So when people get their login link and they come to this dashboard and they click main stage, if it's open, then they'll join the meeting. It'll just open Zoom and away it goes. So at that point, Obvio is not doing anything special with Zoom. That's the Zoom experience. Obvio is not handling anything audio, video, nothing. All it's doing is getting people to the Zoom meeting. It's still on you to work out how you're doing all of your audio and video and things like that. So when we come back into here, when it comes to show day, you click open room. That'll toggle that. That gets the Zoom meeting all ready for you. And then you click start. And what start does is launches the Zoom meeting and you are the host. You're the host of that meeting. And away you go as if it was a normal Zoom meeting. The key thing here is this open area. What happens is when you open your room and you've started it, it will not let people in until you've toggled this to open the room. And that's just opening the doors. So it means that you can get settled. You can make sure everything's all working in your Zoom meeting. Start it an hour, 2 hours early, like before your event, have everything all nicely set up. And then you open the area and let people in. Before that, they will get an offline page that will say, and see this offline text, you can customize this on the page that they would have, that doors haven't opened yet, doors open at 10 a.m., whatever you want to write, that type of thing. And that offline page is sitting there just checking when the room opens. And as soon as it opens, it redirects them people to Zoom and away it goes. That's how that whole sort of process works. Is that filling in some blanks for you?
Yes, big time.
Okay, good.
So if I go to a video, if you go to day one video,
okay, yeah, here.
Is there a way I can put a timer on that video if I wanted to, like in the rules or something like that? Don't start until, or some kind of trigger or scheduler.
Yeah. So with a blog entry like that, you can set a publish date into the future, and it won't appear until that time. So that's something. If that's the type of thing you're thinking, is that you want certain videos to display on certain days? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, yes, definitely. So that was really my question. How do I do it? Not that I'm going to adopt that way, but I just want to cut the feature and figure it out as I go along.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what I learned today from you, so I'll make that adjustment. Thank you.
Yeah. So there is the show from and show until fields here as well, right? So this is where you can get a bit more granular and say, I only want it to show at this from this time window perhaps, and you might want day one to disappear, and only have day two there on day two, those sorts of things. So that's where you would handle that specifically. The publish date, the publish date is also the sorting that happens, which you might have worked out, that you can set the dates and you hide the date, and now you use the date that is how it does the chronological order of your blog posts. That's how you manage those with those published dates. But if you do put it in the future, it won't display until then. So.
Great. Thank you.
And
appreciate it.
No worries. And then this, this meeting's recorded, live streamed onto YouTube, and the reason for the live stream is so that you can go back and watch it. And so, if you want to go back over what we talked about, then you can easily. Cool. Anyone
Hey,
else?
Grant, I know you wanted to test something with breakouts. Have you had a chance to do that yet?
I haven't done the test. Do we want to do that now? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
You're excited?
Oh, I'm so excited. So guys, we have a guinea pig. Yeah. Grant is working on something that's a proof of concept for us to essentially try and find a way to move people into breakout rooms in a more efficient manner. It's probably a good long ways away from actually being ready for use by Obvio members, but the only way for us to test it is in a meeting with people. So do you guys mind hanging out for just a couple minutes, and then we'll bounce back to Q&A and yeah. You what do you need, Grant, to move forward?
I'm okay. I'm just opening. What I'm doing is opening rooms.
Cool.
I'm going to allow participants to return. I'm going to.
While he's doing that, Kevin, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. What's your question?
This is a quick one. Thank you for taking a tip of a handout too, Lori. Okay. When Grant showed his other screen, well, when he shared screen, I believe it was shared screen, he had a bunch of dashes that were showing across his camera screen. And I was just wondering what was that from?
You mean Zoom wasn't showing his
It had
camera?
it was showing it was showing his face, right now I'm positioned next to Grant, right? Well, in my screen at least, in my gallery view. Okay.
Yeah.
And when his view was showing, it had dashes going across, a bunch of little dashes going across. So I don't know if he was sharing screen or what was he doing.
You mean?
In his name, yes. In his name, just like
had you changed had you renamed yourself to have a bunch of dashes while you were doing something, Grant?
Nope.
No.
Because I get the same thing, and I'm trying to figure out why is it happening. So I've thought if he knew what was happening, then I could figure out it for myself. I don't know if anybody else seen that, but on Grant's screen, dashes came across.
That sounds like a you problem, Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
thank you so much.
No. Do me a favor. Keep yourself unmuted, actually, because this is a perfect opportunity for us to test something specific around around this process. You don't necessarily have to talk if you don't want to. Go ahead, Grant.
Okay.
What number should we test? Should we go into 2 different rooms, or?
Do
you know, that feels like that's optimistic that the thing's going to work at all.
Yeah.
How about you just make it work that it will move people without us doing anything?
Yeah, one thing at a time. All right. So guys, we're gonna put some of you. It's just gonna be for a couple of minutes. We're gonna put you guys into breakout rooms, and then we'll bring you back. So don't worry, this won't be long. Don't worry, this won't hurt a bit. Just hang out. And Grant, why don't you do what you want to do with room 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah, room 1, 15. Here we go.
Did you type 15 or 5? It'd be disappointing if you typed 15.
I won't tell you that then.
Hmm?
I won't tell you that then. That it was 15. Okay. I'm gonna try it here instead.
Are
Room,
you moving a couple more people?
yeah. Go to room 2, and I can see exactly
Okay,
what's
we're
happening.
going to take a few more of you, somewhere between 5 and 15, into another room. My favorite part of this moment is that Zachary is looking at you trying to do this and just shaking his head, going, seriously, Grant, this
is really
you're
what you're trying to do.
constantly just, what the? All right, how are we doing?
Yeah, okay. So there's certainly aspects of it that worked very well. um,
Are you making a couple of changes?
it was just it's not quite right. Okay. Well, we can probably close that, bring those people. Oh, there it goes. Okay, list. All right. I'll just close those rooms. Maybe this was a good idea, Blue, because you can take another couple of questions.
All right. Yeah, Bill, we just sucked you back out. You're gonna close that room?
Yeah, it is. Oh, I thought they were. Sorry. There we go.
All right, cool. And
All right.
I'm unassigning those folks.
Yep.
Okay, done. All right. Hey, everybody. All right. Does anybody else have a question? All right. So I've got something new for you while Grant is working on that. Don't get too excited. It's not Marketplace. Okay. So as I do this, let me just say we've been doing a couple of little bug fixes over the course of the last, couple of weeks, which has been helpful, I think. Something that we did recently was actually not a bug fix. This one is more exciting. It is a feature add. So some of you may remember, or maybe you don't, but we have two templates, the Nifty 50 template, as well as the panels template, neither of which have an agenda feature. So you may remember that, or you may not. If you did not remember it, then I'm just informing you of that because that's the case. But we recently added to both systems an agenda feature. Now, we have a little bit of work still to do on it, but if you take a look at this particular dashboard, this is a Nifty 50 template. And up in the far right-hand side, you now see agendas. So this is a feature that you can turn on or off, but if it's enabled, you can have define the title, which is above. You can define the menu title, how it shows up in that menu bar along the top. You can add a description. Below is a agenda for the event. You can add a footer. We usually put something along the lines of this. Remember, the agenda appears in your time zone, not ours. Then I'm going to click save. And now you can add agenda items. Now, each agenda item, this one works very similar to a template that you haven't seen yet. So something called the town hall template. So you can define the event name. So this is, let's say, day 1. You can define the description. So amazing presentations happening on this day. A start and end time, right? So I'm gonna, let's say it's I don't know, Sunday from 10 a.m. through, or sorry, not Sunday, but the 20th. And then let's have this go to like 6 p.m. or something along those lines. And then you can add speakers. This is something new that's only available in the town hall template and these 2 templates. Now, when you do, it inserts the speaker's name as well as a little kind of representation of their bio photo that you have put in, assuming you have done this, in the speakers section. So in this particular speaker section, there's Barry and there's Blue, and we both have a photo. So on the agenda page, when you select speakers, and that's optional, you don't have to, but when you select speakers, 1, 2, or multiples, then a little representation of their bio photo will show up, which is kind of cool. So that's agendas, and that's a new feature that is inside of both the panels template as well as the Nifty 50 template, which for the longest time, I would remind people when they were asking which template to use, just say, hey, just as a quick reminder, both the Nifty as well as the panels template don't technically have the agenda feature. You can still type time into a blog post, right? So you can put the start and end time in text in a blog post, which you can still do. But now you can also, in addition to that, create an agenda that is similar to what you can do with the little sidebar agendas in the other templates. So that's one thing that's brand new, and I think pretty exciting. Another thing that's brand new and has
Blue,
been on the yes, sir.
Can you share screen like you did again? Because it came up on your screen this time when you were sharing screen.
What do you see?
Right. So when I look right now, I'm looking at the gallery, and on your picture or your portion of the gallery shows like a lot of dashes going through the picture itself. Does anybody else see that?
That's what I'm saying, Kevin. This seems like
my problem.
It's just you, Kevin.
It is my problem. I got to figure out what is it, because I'm using 2 screens, and for you, now that you're sharing screen, I wonder if I could show it. Let me see if I could. Oh, I can't show.
Can you are you on a Mac or PC?
Screen print.
I'm on a PC.
Yeah, so print screen. Let's see if you can take a screen capture of it and then open the image and share your screen with that image.
People are showing their age now using the term print screen.
Print screen. I haven't done that in so long.
It's like,
For some
honestly,
people, it's 3 buttons to print screen.
It
And
used
what
to
is
be
the
a
thing?
key.
I mean, I know what it is. I know how to do it on
I
a
don't
Mac,
remember
but
it anymore.
Used to be a key on the keyboard.
on the keyboard, right?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Back when
but mine
keyboards
actually
made
makes
noises.
me do Windows Shift S.
Oh yeah.
Windows Shift S. Nice. Like for
So it's not
Yeah,
doing it anymore because you're not sharing screen. But the next time it happens, I'll show.
Well, here, I'll share a screen for you. Is it back?
It is back.
All right, do it quick. Do it fast. I'm gonna stop sharing screen any second
Print
now.
screen. I believe I print screen. I don't know if it's showing. No, it's not.
All right.
Don't worry about it. I'll figure it. It's something that's happening. I got to figure out why is it showing that when somebody shares screens.
it
person
sounds
who
to me like there's some sort of indication. I wonder if it's a Zoom setting, which I'm not familiar with because I don't often share screen outside of these calls. So yeah, it sounds like
it
it's
has to be
probably a Zoom.
yeah, so Zoom setting I have on second screen somehow is showing up that way.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Thank you all.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, so Bez, what's your question?
Real quick, what other templates have the agenda? Because
All of them.
feature. All of them?
All
Okay.
of them.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
it.
So that was the thing, right? Now that that's the feature add, that agenda they appear differently in each of the templates, but now all of the templates have the ability to have an agenda. And the thing that is cool about the agenda feature is the agenda feature always shows in the attendee's time zone. So whatever computer the user the whatever time zone the attendee is set to is the time zone that the agenda will appear in for them, right? So you may see it as 9 a.m. Eastern, but somebody in California will see it as 6 a.m. Pacific. It's also the agenda, that time and date section is also the only part of the dashboard that automatically translates. So if somebody from another country in another language goes onto your dashboard, they will see the date and time in their language, as well as it being properly formatted for that language, because everybody has a slightly different way of, properly formatting time and date. Okay, so the other thing that I want to share with you, which I think is pretty exciting, some of you have asked for it, which is those of you who have went to the virtual event on virtual events may have seen a new template, right? Something that you hadn't seen before, if you're familiar with Obvio. And the template that we were using was something called Town Hall. And especially when it comes to, a couple of years ago as we were launching, we would bring, we tried to make templates available pretty quickly. This one we've been playing around with and trying to get right for quite some time. I think we started using it in January. I had our first event with it in January, and we just made it live for attendees. So now under the template area, you're going to see a new template called Town Hall, and you can view a sample dashboard. So the sample dashboard, much like others, looks like other Obvio, other Obvio dashboards, where it's a little bit more branded to us rather than to you. But this is an example of the Town Hall template. So it has a hero section up at the top with two different kinds of buttons, buttons that can go below the logo and description, as well as buttons that can go inside of a little panel. Now, the panel on the right-hand side, and these can be reversed too. If you prefer to have your panel on the left versus the right, it's a setting, you can do that. But these panel buttons all are going to have the same format. So you can't change the colors of individual panel buttons. You just can format the panel itself. But the buttons on the left-hand side underneath the logo and description, much like other buttons inside the Obvio platform, can all be formatted to be their own individual unique colors. So you can do that. Now, as you scroll down, you'll notice that there's a sample blog post, which is similar to what you've seen in other areas. But you'll also notice that there's like a background image back there. You don't have to set a background image. We have for the demo here. And then there's also an event agenda. You'll notice that this event agenda is a little more widescreen, similar to the one that you just saw me demo for you in the Nifty 50 template. So we took this same agenda feature and brought it over to Nifty and panels. And then as I scroll down, you see downloadable resources, which are for, the for downloadable resources. Now, downloadable resources on this particular template create individual buttons. Those buttons can be styled, much like other buttons inside the platform can be. So this is the Town Hall template, and I would encourage you guys to play around with it. You know, give it a try. The main thing that's different is going to be the main dashboard page. As you go to the speaker page, this is the speaker page that we created for the Lefty template is being used here. And same thing for sponsors and FAQ and Zoom backgrounds, which there aren't any here currently. Yeah, that's all pretty straightforward. The password, you know, the waiver, password, and tech check all look very, very similar to other templates. The main difference is the style and formatting of the dashboard itself. Now, TVE 7, when I go to TVE 7, the dashboard that we had for TVE 7, this is an example or another example of what this particular template can look like. One of the things that's cool, and you may have noticed it, as you scroll down, this little menu bar, once it gets to the top of the page, sticks there. So it's allowed, because this page is designed as a long scrolling page, we wanted to make sure that our attendees could get back up to the top really easily. So rather than having to scroll up, they can just click on main, and that takes them all the way back up. If they click on agenda, that takes them all the way down to agenda. Downloads takes them down to downloads. And then you can put additional links in this particular menu bar. So this is our hosts. It goes to the speaker page. And then, you know, the leaderboard goes to the leaderboard page. So it's I think it's a cool template, and one that I hope you guys like to use. Something else that's unique about it is blog posts can be full screen, like full width across, but they can also be in columns of 2 or 3. So you'll notice these right here: apply for funding, pick your next event date, get laser coaching. These 3 items are actually all individual blog posts that happen to be sitting right next to each other. So there's some interesting things that you can do. And then you can have different blog post sections of this dashboard. So this welcome to the virtual event on virtual events is its own blog post section. So I was able to style this one differently than this blog post section. Again, play around with it, you know, give it a try. Start with the demo sample data. That's always the best place to begin with these templates, rather than using it, you know, using it for, you know, from scratch. Yeah. Yeah, Christy, for a brief period of time, the template was actually available to everybody, and then we hid it again because it wasn't, you know, there were a couple of things that were just recently fixed, actually. There were a couple of things that weren't even fixed while we were using it for the virtual event on virtual events, but, you know, we tend to test things out on our own events before we let you play with them. So that was a good example of that. This dashboard also, much like all the rest of them, can scale or is mobile responsive. So it looks great on mobile as well as on desktops. So yeah, I hope you like it. And it's available inside of your application right now. All right, Grant, how am I doing? Did I stall long enough for you to be ready for the next test? No, doesn't seem like it. Yes, maybe, kinda, not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's we can try it if everyone's okay with it.
All right, so guys, I have one more feature that I'm excited to share with you, but I'm not going to do it until after this test. So stick around. All right, this is actually really, really cool. This next feature is super awesome. probably something that a lot of people have been asking for quite some time. So
Probably it's
don't worry,
life-changing.
this test won't take long. It won't take long. After this commercial break, we'll go ahead and take care of it for you.
It's
All right.
it's really life-changing.
It is totally earth-shatteringly fantastic.
Those were still assigned for me, it seems. Let's have a look at that.
It won't hurt a bit. Don't worry. Not even a little bit.
Here we go. Here we go. Gonna do 15.
For real this time?
1, 2, 3.
Well, look at that. Uh-oh.
Didn't quite get to 15.
Did you do 15 or 11?
No, I now know a little bit more of what's going on.
Can I close the rooms? Or do you have something else?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I know exactly what's happening there. Okay, I think we can close them. I'll close it, yeah.
All right, so here's the next feature that actually just got released earlier this week. So something that people have been asking for is, sometimes if you can't email out the unique custom URL to attendees, we've there are other ways for people to log into their dashboard, right? About a year or so ago, we added a feature called the event password. So for those of you who've been using the platform for a long time, you may know that the default password before we added this default password feature was the email address of users, right? So an attendee could come to a dashboard and they could type in their email address into the username and then also into the password field because their email address was the default password. Well, asking attendees or asking people to enter their email address twice was confusing for some. And if they made a typo and entered it correctly and then incorrectly or vice versa, then of course they didn't get logged in. So we added a feature or last year sometime that was called the default password feature. So on the settings page for your event down at the bottom, you can set an 8-character or more password for your event. So now you can give people the login URL and ask them to email or log in with their email address and give them the password as part of your email. A little bit easier, right? Because people understand we're used to this function of having a password, and we're not used to having this function of having a email address as a password. It's a little weird. So, that was awesome. Last year, in the last year, we added the sign up feature, which has some interesting properties for free events. And it was also a way to get attendees into the dashboard. Well, recently, and by recently, I mean about a month or so ago, Grant and I revisited the idea of making it a little less secure for your attendees to get logged in. Because here's the thing, every time we make it easier for attendees to log in, it's also less secure. And this is one of the things that I think people struggle with in general around security, right? I want it to be easy, but I want it to be secure. And those two things don't go well together. It's like having a hot iced soup. or a hot iced coffee, right? It's not possible. You wind up with something that's lukewarm and nobody's happy. With that being said, there are certain things that, sometimes there may be a situation where you're like, you know what? I just want it to be easy. I want it to be like somewhat secure, but I'm not going to be crazy about security. They just paid $17, right? It's not the end of the world. Perfect. So we have another new feature to make it a little easier. Again, if you can't send out your login URLs to individual attendees. So on the settings page, down at the bottom, there is still the attendee default password, but there's a new toggle that we just added called Allow Email Only Login. And if you read what it says right here, it says when this function is enabled, attendees will be able to log into the event using only their email address. While more convenient for attendees, it reduces the security level of your event as attendees can no longer prevent access to their dashboard by changing their password. Okay, so when this feature is turned on, all that is asked for when you go to the login URL of an event that has this feature turned on, all you have to do is enter the email address. Now, it's the email address has to be registered within Obvio, right? So your attendee still has to be imported somehow or created inside of the Obvio platform. But once they are, if they know their email address, and hopefully they do, then you can come in here and just type in blue@poweredbysage.com and click login. Now, here's the challenge with that. Like the beauty of that is it's super easy, right? I just got logged in. It's nice and easy. And it is definitely lowers the threshold for difficulty for attendees, right? Because the easier you make it, the more likely, especially for free events, the more likely they are to actually show up, which is real. In the end, that's the ball game, right? You can sell all the tickets in the world, but if people don't actually show up to your events, you're not likely to have success moving forward. So with this feature turned on, attendees now have an easier path to logging in. The downside to it, of course, is you all now know my password or how to log in as me onto the TVE7 website, because all you need to know is an email address for an attendee at the event. Now, admittedly, with the default password in place, you still only needed the email address and to know the default password, right? But this does make it marginally less secure. So I would just say, while we're excited about it, and I'll definitely be using it on certain events, especially free events, I would recommend that you just use it with caution and be aware that, now that I have given you my email address, I can't go and change my password, right? If I realize, oh, my cousin is logging in as me into this event, I can't go to the change password function because the change password function doesn't exist, because the enable the attendee email only or allow email only login feature is turned on. Incidentally, when you do turn on that allow email only login, if you go to the check-in password page, you'll notice that it's blacked out. And there's a note that says that this function has been disabled for this event. The password function can be enabled on the event settings page. Also, if you go to design and you go to change password, you'll see the same functionality or the same blackout. Under forgot password, you'll see the same blackout. And under communication and forgot password email, again, you'll see the same blackout. Simply put, when you disable the password feature of the event, we disable all the associated password functions of the event. So hopefully that all makes sense. And I think making it easier for our attendees to log into the event is super valuable for all of us. So I hope you like it. David, go ahead.
So with the password is now the email address, will it only allow one login from that email address, or can multiple people who have that
So
email
the same
address log
thing
in
is still true.
simultaneously?
Multiple people can log into the dashboard, right? You can have unlimited logins to the dashboard, but by default, still only one login to Zoom with that email address, right? So from that standpoint, we have put an extra layer of security in the default settings of your Zoom areas. Now, when you're creating a Zoom area, you can change that, right? So if you're like, you know what, I just want everybody to get in, where it's kumbaya, I don't care if everybody's named Blue, who cares, it's fine, then create a new area. Can the same user use multiple devices to join at the same time? Say yes. And turn off requires approval to join meetings, and click create. And now you can give out the same email address, and this like 1,000 people can get into, well, not 1,000, but 500 people can get into Zoom. Actually, no, in that particular case, it would be 1,000 people can get into Zoom using the same email address. Okay. So I would recommend you not do that. I still think that a little bit of security is a good thing. That's why I leave the settings, the default settings for new Zoom areas exactly as they are. I never change them for any of our events. It doesn't matter what we're doing. I never change those settings. We've even had conversations about disabling those settings entirely, because the reality is it just doesn't matter. So, but they're there. We like to give our users choice. Jeff, not Jeff. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
So if you go into the areas and you don't allow them to join with multiple devices, then won't it be just as secure because only one person can join with that device?
Kinda. It'll be just as secure from your it will be just as secure from your perspective, meaning as the host of the event, only one person with that email address will get into the event. So it'll still be just as secure for you. What'll be less secure is for your attendees, right? Because if somebody knows that I registered, like me personally, I'm registered for an event. And if you happen to know that, you could go to that event's URL and use my email address to log in and then get into Zoom. And now I can't get in, right? So from your perspective, still only one person who bought that ticket got into Zoom. But me, as the buyer of that ticket, I can't get in because somebody else is. So it's a little bit complicated, but that's the gist of it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Look at that. Tons of new features. I told you that was an exciting one, right? I mean, you all thought I was just going to say, and now you can change your color to fuchsia, right? Or something ridiculous like that. You could always do that, incidentally. But no, that's actually a pretty cool feature. I'm excited about that one. All right, Grant, are you ready for another test? You think we'll get to 12, 13, 14, maybe 15?
Yep. I'm ready. What do we got here? Let's get that room. Okay.
All right, guys. So we are going to do another breakout test. We're going to put you into breakout rooms just for a moment. I'd like to say that I have another incredible feature, so stick around. I don't, but stick around anyway. And Grant is going to do his magic stuff.
One.
Blue, blue,
And
blue, blue.
hang on. I'm going to do 10 into room 1. Into room 3.
You mean to put 2 in room 3? Is that what you did?
I'm doing 10 in 3 if we've got that many. Yeah, I don't. So this is the thing with video off. That was the problem I had before.
Oh, interesting. So it's the video off thing that's preventing them from going in?
Yeah. Yeah. So David's not going in because he's unmuted.
Yeah, that one I get.
And everyone else is.
So now that Dino and Angela have their, can you try putting in, let's try putting 5 more into room 2. And you're saying only those 2 will go.
Yep.
Like Dino's
into room 3.
Vibe in the background. That's awesome.
There it goes.
Interesting.
Yep.
So it's only allowing people with cameras on to go in.
Well, I've got a flag, so we can choose. But before I had it as only video off, and I forgot that. So we sent like 4 people or something. They had the videos off, and that was it. So it was working.
So, but now it's flagged to be on.
Yeah, and I just need to make that a field that we can choose. Make it a checkbox, or video on, video
And
off.
can we make it an optional checkbox? Like if it's not selected, then it's just random.
Yeah. Make it ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to just try. Just closing it now. That seemed fast enough. It's technically only sort of 2 a second, I think.
It seemed faster.
Yeah. So
seemed pretty fast.
So what was happening the first time actually is I forgot that I had a filter for only people that had their videos off. So the first time we ran it, if they had their camera off, it moved them.
Clever.
So,
well, I'm glad you found it. That would drive you nuts.
Yeah. So then I changed it to on, video on, and that all worked. So I mean, this is very, very early days for you, but if you just think in the future, if you can manage breakout rooms in a way that, I mean, and there's a few extra hurdles to jump through, but it's just thinking about if we can use data to create breakout rooms, now the sky's the limit.
That'd be wind groovy.
Yeah, now you can say, depending on the data that you have, you could have geographic data. You can say people that are in this state, put them all in, into rooms of states, or you could say income bracket, where it could be like put people in the same income brackets that are bang, do that, or whatever it is that your particular thing.
You like set up an Elgato dashboard.
Yes, Stream Deck button.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Pull all the women out, or pull all the certain age group out, right?
So Grant, my question is, where are you pulling that data from?
Yeah, so that would be the next step, is you pull it from Obvio, right? So you tie it all in, so data about, so you're saying who's in the meeting, ask Obvio about them, and then assign them based on that. So,
but you would have to set up some tags for like states or
that type of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you set it up so that the same people were in the pullout groups every week?
Well,
Assuming they show up for the
since this doesn't exist yet, yeah. Yeah, we can
We
do
need
anything
that.
you want.
I want that.
But yes, we run an event every 2 weeks. It's a 3-day event every 2 weeks for a client, and they do breakout rooms with large groups where they're doing like workshopping. And when they leave one day and come back the next, they would love to have it where everyone went back into the same breakout rooms that they were in the day before, right? And I've explored some ways of doing that, but with 600 people, it's a bit of a challenge of kind of assigning them. Whereas this type of thing, we could totally do it. We'd just be like, yeah, put them back into this room.
Give them a code.
Yeah. So I'd love to just do another test on speed and sending everyone in and ignoring whether it's video or not. If that's okay, people. Appreciate you being here. I did set up a thing where I had 10 sort of dummy computers all which is the reason. This is the reason actually that I had the 10 dummy computers all with their cameras off. And so that's why I had it set to cameras off. Yeah. And so just so you know too, so if we had a person raise their hand, they won't be moved. And if someone's unmuted, they won't move. And that's the idea that perhaps someone's talking in the meeting at the time, or they're wanting to ask a question and they don't want to get moved. Then, so someone could raise their hand. We can test that too. And you just try, I think that's worked at that. There. All right, open the rooms. What have we got? 20, I'll do 18. I'll do 16. 3, 16. There we go. That worked. 16. It's working. I just Blue, I don't know if we do 100, whether we're talking like 50 seconds or something, but
honestly, even if we are, that's still
amazing.
like 5 minutes faster than doing it manually.
Okay.
What would you use that one for?
We have a very specific use case that we're trying to do something in terms of how the client wants to launch breakouts, being a little bit challenging for the standard Zoom breakout automatically assign function. Because we're wanting to have about 10, 15 breakout rooms open and then let attendees into a meeting. And then once the meeting is about 10, 15 minutes in, now assign 100 people into breakout room 1 and 50 people into breakout room 2 and another 50 people into breakout room 3. And doing that manually is time consuming and also a frustrating experience because the Zoom interface does some interesting things as attendees are coming in and out and in and out and in and out of a meeting constantly. Makes it a little difficult to do. So for us, that's our specific use case. We have an event this weekend actually where rather than it taking us, 15 minutes to assign a few hundred people manually, it'll take 3 and be a much calmer experience for the person actually doing the assignment as well. So that's kind of what we are attempting to do, is put a little bit of automation into a manual process.
And is
Justin?
the raising hand part for the people who don't want to participate?
No,
or
so it's actually for the people who do. So what we're going to do is for people who have their hand raised, they're going to be in a room with, with Barry and somebody else, and they're going to be taking questions. And for people who have their hand raised, because those are kind of like the most active people, we want to keep those people in the main room and assign everybody else. So and also if they're talking, we don't want them assigned into a breakout room. So if they're unmuted or if they hand raised, at least how it's being conceived right now, they won't go into a breakout room. Justin?
He just had his hand raised so he wasn't moved? Or yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Well, that's fair.
If I could just do one more test, it'll be trying to speed up the allocation.
Okay. Well, I don't mind.
Yeah.
But I'm not the one sticking
People
around.
just leave. Yeah, that's right. Just leave if you're getting bored of this. But
or walk away from your computer, but leave your Zoom meeting attached.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So it was 500 milliseconds. It's now 250 milliseconds.
Thanks, Christy. Have a nice night.
4.
You mean to move just 5?
No, it should be 10. Yeah. Well, that tells me I think we probably do need a little buffer there.
I mean, honestly, Grant, like
It's
a
fine.
half a second per person is still miles faster than a human can do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to 400.
Like, I'm still pushing the envelope.
That's right. I want just a little bit more than 2 a second.
You move 5 that time or 10?
Should be 10. I don't know if I fully updated that properly though. No, I didn't. Anyway, so now yeah, it's stop at 10. How many people not? That's not 10, but a couple of us. 7. Yep, it's working. Jane was the only one. Okay. Well, I'm pretty happy with that.
Awesome.
So is the video on off thing important?
No, we originally thought, so what here, do you want to, shall we shut down this meeting and you and I hop into our own Zoom so we can have a conversation? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's Let's just end the meeting with everybody in breakouts.
Yeah, that's right. And then they left.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, listen, everybody, a quick thank you to all of you, for hanging out and allowing us to do some testing with you. It was super helpful.
That's great. We'll see you again next week.
Next week. No guarantees of no testing next week. But
That's
definitely
likely.
guarantees of questions being answered. So thanks all. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.